All right, here we are. Joe Aguirre and Karin Ravalese, Movement Boss Podcast. We'll get into that. We'll get into what that is. But for now, Karin, introduce yourself to my friends.
Hi, I'm Karin Ravalese. I'm an exercise physiologist. I also have a master's in physical education. And me and Joe are just going to kind of talk about rotational sports and breathing tonight.
Yeah, so you and I met a few months ago, and it couldn't have happened at a better time, I think, for both of us. I participate, for anybody that knows me, in a like an adult wiffle ball league, and it's fast pitch and it's pretty intense, and it's like it's my time of the year. And through the course of that, obviously, you know, I just turned 50. I'm older. I'm more beat up than ever before. And you and I got to talk, and I also like to golf. And there's so much going on with the body. And for the weekend warrior like myself, we tend to be in pain and just sort of accept that that's just how it is. And you were like, no, you don't have to do that. And my God, you're like a godsend. We also brought you by the Wiffle Ball League. And you walk through, and there was a guy. We'll get into all this during the course of this podcast, and you'll meet him later on. There was a guy who couldn't stand up straight from a day of golfing, and you walked over, and like he had a home run that night. And so I think one of the things we had also observed was most people aren't really stretching beforehand. They just kind of show up, maybe drink a beer, start playing ball. Bad idea.
Or either that, or they're just like stretching because they feel the perception that they're tight. So they're maybe just kind of just stretching like one way, and they may already be on stretch. So that can cause a problem, which that sounds kind of crazy because people will be like, oh, wow, well, I'm tight and I'm stretching. How could I be already on stretch? But you absolutely could be. Because a lot of times you will get that like feeling that you are tight because of that reason. So it's really important to be able to move in both ranges of motion and not just kind of like get stuck in one over the other. So I think that could be a problem too with some people.
So right after I met you, my wiffle ball season started, and I was killing it. Everything was going great. And I also played in a golf tournament, and I kind of went off and I worked it out a little bit. And one of the things we had talked about was doing both sides.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you, it was one of my better rounds of golf, and so just kind of, we're going to talk about a lot of things on this podcast. And one of the biggest ones is obviously movement. That's kind of what it's all about. The movement boss. That's Karin. But we also talk a lot about breathing and the combination of those things. And again, how all parts of your body are connected. And oftentimes if something's off here, it's because something's going on here. It's stuff like, as we talk about it, I'm like, oh my God, duh. Yeah. And again, being 50 now, I'm really more aware, and I'm more into this.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I had a situation a few weeks back where I took a really awkward swing, and my shoulder was just completely out of whack, and it really hurt. And as it happened, you and I had a video call set up that Thursday without even being in Karin's presence. And like, this was insane. you sort of worked me over the computer, pain gone. And I mean, that's pretty insane, obviously, to be able to have that effect. But, being a new, fresh injury, no history there,
Yeah, that's
we were able to sort of work out what was going on literally over the computer.
mhm. Well, I had asked you some questions, some specific questions. And if you remember too, like I kind of used your grip as a gauge to kind of give me some more information about, where the problem could potentially be.
Yep.
So remember I asked you, I'm like, oh, I don't know if you had a weight around. Did you have a weight? Or
I did.
have,
Yeah.
okay.
There's some weights right on that
Okay.
table behind you. Yeah.
So you had a weight because you were kind of pointing to this area here. So it could have been a couple of different things. So I had you lift the weight up over your head and then kind of lift the weight just normal and ask you if you noticed, and then compare both sides to ask you if you could tell if there was any difference between side to side.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, actually there is. And it happened to be the side that you're having the problem with, where you felt like you weren't as strong in the higher position. So then that prompted me to ask more questions, have you feel for like some tightness, and, just to try to get some more information from you, and just kind of like based off of that. And then just your movement, watching you move through the screen there. I was able to kind of come up with, a couple of corrective strategies to give you, and then just retest the weight and see if you noticed any difference.
Yep.
And you did. And you also said that you felt you had more range of motion. You didn't feel that tightness and restriction in your shoulder. So that's kind of like how that kind of came to be. That was the first interaction that you and I had together.
So let me ask you this. What exactly do you think in this awkward swing that I took? What exactly do you think happened? We talked something about maybe compressing some things in here. How would you explain that?
It could have been a number of reasons based off of what you actually had at that one moment. Was you had the collarbone. So you actually had the collarbone kind of like pushing down.
Yep.
A bit, but it's not just the collarbone. It could be the shoulder blade. It could be the neck, which we found with somebody on your team that had something with the neck.
Yep.
So, and those types of things. It could just be the shoulder itself, which a lot of times it's not. The shoulder is getting the brunt because like the collarbone or the shoulder blade or the neck, or even just like the core in itself, it's just not coordinating properly with the rest of the body. So like if you got into a jam, maybe you just overextended yourself on that one motion.
Yep.
And then you could just, whatever you defaulted to could have caused it. It could have been, somebody else could have a problem with their shoulder blade or anything back. It just really just depends on the person and what their default pattern was for that.
Let's talk too about, one of the other things we were talking about, and for a long time I was a pitcher and my shoulder's pretty messed up. And so I've sort of ceased pitching in my league. And one of the things you and I were talking about was the big train, Walter Johnson, who's got the second most wins in Major League history. And could you sort of show people what his motion is? And like, so we can talk about, again, it's the idea of, I see so many people, and I see people that throw really hard sometimes too, who sort of short arm everything. Everything comes from right here. And, they're certainly getting, the movement of the lower part of their body, but to straight arm it like that, yeah, it's not where it's at. And when we wonder why, 100 years ago, these guys could win 400 games, it's because of the very natural motion that they were using. And I started doing that in wiffle ball, just throwing the ball from the outfield to the pitcher or whatever. And just sort of that release and the snap there, I could throw it further. It was painless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we do things, and once we're outside of being coached in an organization, you just fall into bad habits and you don't know any better. And then, like I said, I got so many buddies in this wiffle ball league who deal with pain every single day. And
that sucks.
I didn't have to do that this year, and man, it made such a big difference as the season wore on. Where, I mean, my goodness, I think we lost 3 or 4 people during the year with injuries. Yikes.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm actually happy to help you, and I'm really appreciative that you introduced me to some of the people on the team, and I'm really happy to answer any questions and talk to anybody about this as well. But to your point about the big train, his technique was just beautiful. I mean, he had both of his shoulders just kind of like line up together, and he really opens himself up right before he does the pitch.
Yeah.
He's not in like this position, which is really essentially a bad position, because that's kind of like where you want to finish. He's out here. He has both of his shoulders kind of in line with each other, and just nice opened up. And then as he's coming around, he's rotating this way. So he lets his ribs kind of finish first, and then you can throw the ball. It's almost like it's almost like your arms don't even exist. They should kind of just be there.
It's like a slingshot if you're really doing it right. Yeah, or a whip.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so he did that. And if you really got me kind of involved in this baseball thing, like kind of interested in it, because I never thought I would be interested in this baseball. But it's beautiful technique if you look at the older guys. And who's the one, and I could send a picture. I'll send you a picture so they can actually see the card.
Yep.
The baseball card of him. I mean, his shoulders are lining up beautiful. He's got, he's really opening this up. He's really putting it on stretch, and then, follow through. I mean, there's so much power there. And then the other gentleman, and you're going to have to help me out with his name, Cyclone. He's like, they name something after him. What's his name again? Oh my God, I can't believe he was like a farmer. He comes from like farm.
Oh my God.
I'm going to have to look his name. I can't believe I can't. Maybe the audience can help us. They name awards after him.
Oh, Cy Young.
There you go. Cy Young.
Yeah, Cy Young, of course.
Cy Young is another one.
Yep.
That has that same type of technique. And
they're first and second on the all-time wins list, and Cy obviously was a lefty doing the same motion, but from the other side.
Exactly. He still had the same setup. He still had the nice opening up. He had like the really big, powerful oblique muscle on stretch, here, right? Opened up all the, the external rotators of the arm, all of that stuff, like all on stretch and just ready to go. Well, the external rotators are on stretch, but you're in that position, and then you're going to follow through, but you really want the ribs to lead the motion. A lot of times that's not what happens. The shoulders kind of going first. And that you could see where somebody would maybe run into a problem. Especially at high speeds, and you're constantly like, you may be good for like, I don't know, 20 pitches. And then when you do the 21st pitch, you're having the problem. So it's almost like even just building up to that capacity. Let's just say 20 pitches, you're pitching like one of these guys, right? But then after the 21st pitch, you're falling apart a little bit. So it's building on that strength, building on that stability with,
right.
Putting strength on it and stuff. And you not really have to do anything fancy. You just want to make sure that you're coordinating it properly and you're setting yourself up for success, so you don't feel like crap the next day. Or like you had said to me when we were talking last, that it's taken people like weeks to recover and then by the time they're recovered, they're going into the game again on
Repeat
Sunday.
The cycle.
It's
yes.
like, come on.
So dumb.
Yeah. And then, a lot of times it's because we're getting old and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, well, yeah, sure. We're all getting old, but I still feel that there's something that you can do to help yourself.
I think a lot of us too have parents who come from a generation of grin and bear it. And so, I mean, again, I think that idea of like, I guess I'm just going to have a bad knee or a bad shoulder or neck pain. And that's just part of being, and it's like, no. So, all right, here's sort of what happened. And again, this will lay the groundwork for what is to come in future episodes. after you and I had our interaction on video, we were like, you know what? Why don't you come in person to the wiffle ball field? And there'll be video footage of this again, sort of when we get into later episodes, because there's a couple of different people who, after they saw your miracle working on me, I kid, I know,
come on,
she hates that. She hates that, but I'm like, this lady just walked around and was like fixing people up. It was incredible. And again, we're gonna have some of these guys on, and they're gonna talk about what they did, and there's actually some really cool video footage that we'll attach with those episodes, so people can kind of see, a little bit of the one. I mentioned him at the beginning, but this fella Matt, and you'll meet Matt in the coming weeks. But Matt couldn't stand up straight. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. He was like, he looked like Kim Kardashian on the cover of that magazine when she had this champagne glass. His back was totally hitched out. And it's like, dude, this kid's not going to play tonight. There's no way.
No, he did not.
And you worked him over. And I'm telling you, Matt hit a home run that night. And to this day, I mean, whenever you came, people were like, hey, can I talk to Karin? And Karin's like, yeah, I'll give you all a free assessment. And if there's something I can do, we can work something out. All I can tell you is if you're in a situation like I am and you're fortunate to find somebody like Karin, I mean, it really is. We've talked, you ask me over and over again if I'm like, you really, and I'm like, oh my God, everything sort of changed from the time that we met. And like I said, I mean, right through the end of the season, I ran through a fence, for crying out loud. That's what finished me for the year. But up until then, everything was going really great, and I felt really good. There were times where you were there at some of the games where, when I was a little out of whack, I remember one in particular, you straightened me out. I said, hang on a minute, let me test this out. I step up to the plate, first pitch, crack a base hit. Mm-hmm. You remember that? That was like insane. And every time something like that would happen, I mean, everybody was looking at like, oh my God. And so, yeah, talk about like, sort of what the process would be like for someone to come and work with you, because you do have an office as well.
I do. I have one. I work out in Wethersfield, actually on the Silas Dean.
She's pointing over there because we're actually in Wethersfield right now. That's hilarious.
I know.
I don't know if that's where the Silas Dean is because we're in the studio, but yeah. And roughly then, over there.
And then I actually have, I could work in Manchester as well, in downtown Manchester, if needed. So that's not a problem. And we can also do online stuff.
Yeah.
So, because it's not really touching. I don't have to touch people.
Right.
Essentially, I'm teaching people how to help themselves. I do a screening, just to kind of, I do, just basic like movement screenings and stuff like that. I also do perturbation, where you just kind of push the person around a little bit just to kind of see where they kind of fall apart.
Yep. I think you and I were doing something like that the other day, right? Where we were going back and forth and like putting pressure, right? And again, that high and low thing.
Well, with you, because you and I were, because you do bat, you're you do batting, and then you're talking to me about the golf, because we'll get into that too. We can get into that too, but we're talking about your golfing. You told me after the 14th hole, so we could talk about that.
Oh my God, the last 4 holes when I play 18, it's achy back, and we're trying to get rid of that as well.
And so I told, and I do neurokinetic therapy too, right? I think I told you about the neurokinetic therapy. And basically that's, they look for dysfunctional movement patterns. They have a unique protocol that they use, just to see what muscle is kind of basically, I want to say facilitated or just working for another muscle type of a thing. So there's like a special protocol that we have for that. So what I was doing with you on that is I was using, there's like 3 levels of neurokinetic therapy, NKT2, which we talk a lot about rotational patterns.
Right.
So I was just kind of, asking you questions. Hey, do you feel more restricted when you are in the backswing? Do you feel more restricted when you're coming down to about mid swing, or like when you're at the follow through? Remember I was asking you that? So we were kind of doing that.
Oh,
like
my
I was
goodness.
using NKT to see if your breathing was messing your rotation up. So
By
that's
the
how
way,
that kind of got into it.
this is also something that was kind of wild. Karen, what she was just explaining, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me, so I got into my golf stance, and as I went to swing, I held my breath. And like in that moment, I thought to myself, okay, as soon as I get into that spot and I start going here, I hold my breath because I think when I swing, there's going to be pain. I'm bracing myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that.
Which is very
if I had to
common.
guess, I've been doing that probably for 10 years now.
See this,
And it took that moment and us talking, and it was like, oh my God,
yeah.
I do that. Oh my God, why do I do that?
How did we even get on that conversation? Because we were just talking about that.
Yeah,
I think we were talking about your shoulder. Like I think it bled into your shoulder, and I started talking about breathing and stuff. And you're like, "Oh, wait a minute! You mean people holding their breath?" And you're like, "Oh, I think I."
You know why? You remember I did the video where I did a workout, and
that's how it started. So
yes,
you were doing it,
and the person said to me,
just in general,
yeah, said don't hold your breath. And I thought about that because when I work out, like I've done,
yeah, you just want to like, you're like, I'm not making a fool out of myself on TV, right?
I've done so many like CrossFit. I did MMA training. I've been a member of a gym for like 35 years straight now. Sometimes more active than others, but I think when I get tired and I think when I'm in pain, that's a default mode of mine. And like, again, as we were talking about it and I think about it, it's like, yep, I totally do that when I'm sort of in distress. It's my default move. Cause again, to brace myself for pain, because I feel like if you're, that's when you get the, oh man, sharp pains or whatever it might be.
You're absolutely right. And I think that's like super common. And that's probably like a lot of times when someone like blows their back out. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, but I believe this has happened. Is when they cough or they sneeze.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because that's the
very
sharp.
common.
That's a very, very sharp exhale.
Yep.
Like people, I don't know if people really realize that or not, but that's like a huge sharp exhale. So if you're just like loosey goosey and your breathing's not on point or you're tight, in your rib cage or your diaphragm's not able to go through its proper ranges of motion, like all it is that one time. I mean, you probably even do it blowing a fart too, because if you think about it,
I tell you something?
Be real here.
I don't vomit often. Okay. I'm not a drinker because when I was younger, I drank a bunch of times and I threw up and I don't like it. So I try to avoid it, but I have had the flu, I had COVID, and all of those things have made me throw up over the years. My wife calls me a vomit screamer.
Oh my God.
And do you know why? Also, I blow all the blood vessels. I look like a raccoon after I vomit because I hold my breath.
See, now not that I want you to throw up again or whatever, but it'd be interesting, like if you do again, like, oh my God, I didn't have all that problem before.
Yep.
Because that's another. I mean, that's like a lot of exhale. Like
again, it's right. It's the bracing myself, and it's.
Yep.
I immediately go to holding my breath, and that is the absolute worst thing to be doing.
And you know what else too, Joe? Too like stress. Being like kind of stressed out and like having some things going on and things that contributes to it too.
Yep.
Unfortunately, sometimes. So, yeah, it's just another thing to think of. Like, especially if someone is. They've got some stress going on in their life. I mean, who doesn't? Let's face it, right? But let's just say someone got knocked with some crazy stuff. Maybe they had a death in the family, or some people maybe going through divorce, kids going to school, trouble in school, whatever the reason is, right?
Yep.
So now you have that, plus you're not really getting a quality breath in already as it is. So now you're adding even more to the mix. So that can even mess with someone's digestion. So people can have these different things going on with like back pain, or maybe both their hips are tight or both shoulders are messing with them. Like that's an indication as well that your diaphragm could be facilitating for your movement. So I'm happy that you're having me on here to talk about this because I think I just like to create some awareness with people and see if there's any way I can help them or if they have any questions.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And like I said, so many people I know golf, play softball, wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many sports. I got a buddy who does frisbee golf.
Really?
Very, very competitive. Yeah, and so, I mean, this is one of the other things that you and I talked about, and it's a big part of the reason why we're doing this is because so many of my friends and my listeners are people who do compete in recreational and sometimes organized sports even. Because I had a heart attack a year and a half ago. I'm fine now, but I'm not like a health nut, obviously, but I try to be more aware and more conscious. And again, I was always the guy that showed up at the last second, grabbed my golf clubs, or ran out onto the baseball field and, all right, let's go, and as I've gotten older, it really starts to wear on you. And I don't want to do things I really enjoy and be in pain or leave in pain from doing those things. And so even in games where you weren't there, some of the things that you taught me and showed me, I was able to sort of stretch myself out. It's where some of my teammates and friends, I think, failed. I certainly saw at times them trying to recreate it, but call her. She'll show you how to do it again. Because again, this isn't where you're looking to get people hooked on like, oh, you got to do this. It's we're going to show you how you can fix yourself, and figure out kind of where your problems are and, just simple ways to stretch it out. Is that the term? Or work it out or whatever it might be, I guess, varying, depending on what it is.
I like to say coordinate. Because I feel like it's coordinating things well. Because, even just like me being in martial arts all those years, like we used to stretch and we always had like, kind of a designated type of stretch that we did. But as I started learning about the anatomy and just kind of changing the way I was doing, like I changed the way I trained totally, completely. So it's been very, very helpful. And when I don't keep up on stuff, which I do, but sometimes, like you miss it, something happens or whatever, you have a stressful day, you feel it. Like I feel it. Like now I'll immediately start feeling like the tightness generate like in my own body. So what I would want for the person is they would have a specific to them. So like, for example, yours was totally different than Dan's.
Yep.
Even though you guys were doing exactly the same thing. So it's not like one person is going to get all these blanket, exercises to do. But what I do like to happen is that I want them to build the strength off of those patterns. And that's just essentially what you want to do. So with you and I did some other things. Like I started showing you part of like the get up. We started incorporating that into, your, since we worked a couple of times on your, the corrective I gave you with your shoulder and things like that, then we kind of started integrating it into like a movement subsystem. So it's not just, oh, let's work on the shoulder. Now I'm trying to help you coordinate it with the opposite side hip or the same side, because especially with your rotational sport, you're rotating. So your opposite side shoulder with the opposite side hip. Even when we talked about when you were batting, even like that foot position, remember, we just that little tiny adjustment, even with that, even gave you more, like you felt you even got a better like bat off, even just off of that.
Right.
So it's just like little tweaks that you can do to put you in a better position and, just keep you doing it because this is something that you love to do and you shouldn't have to feel like, crap every time you do it.
So while she was also working or coordinating my shoulder problem out, she offered again to come in person and help me along. And then you said to me, if anybody else is there is having any issues. And I was like, anyone else? They all do. And I told her about my friend Dan, who's 53. He's beaten down both by life and by his long storied career playing ball. And he's a very traditional guy. I'm a bat flipper. I like to celebrate and have fun. Not Dan. Dan takes it very serious. And a couple of times on a swing, Dan lost his bat. And I was like, oh my God, I think there's something wrong with my buddy Dan, because in a million years, that guy would not let his bat go like that. I think he can't help it. And as it turned out, he had both grip issues and a neck problem.
Well, what's interesting is that I'm glad that you were because we kept talking.
Yeah.
And the fact that you had the shoulder thing, that guy, you started talking to me because I was talking to you about the grip and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, my buddy, yeah, he loses the bat, and I'm like, well, where does he lose it? Does he lose it? Remember I was asking you, is he way up here?
Yeah.
Is he here? Like, is he like? And you're like, he actually loses it as he comes like down. It just flies out of his hand, and I'm like, oh, did you ever see him like? Did you ever have any like? I was just asking you random stuff. I'm just asking, just for questions. You're like, oh yeah, actually he does. He always has. Was it icy hot?
We share icy hot
Yeah.
constantly during the game because our necks and our backs and our shoulders are feeling like garbage. And so it's like, yes.
Do you think he'd be interested in talking to me? Remember?
And he was.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy.
Here's another super interesting result. I swear to God. He pitched the second game that night. So we had our first game. He didn't pitch. Second game, he comes out and he's lights out. He was outstanding. And when the game ended, he said, that's the best I felt in 5 years.
Seriously.
That's what he said. And that was after 15 minutes of you guys, again, just kind of talking it out and figuring out what's, because one of the other things he had mentioned, and again, you sort of isolate grip, was that he has to ask his wife for to open up mayonnaise jars and stuff like that, or pickle jars or whatever nonsense he eats.
I said, do you ever feel like do you have any grip loss? Do you ever feel like you lose any, whatever? And he said, oh yeah, actually I can't open the jars for my daughters or kids. Or I think he has daughters.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. But though too, Joe, like you really are a great learner. Like you picked everything up well. Like you didn't have any kind of like problem or structural. Same with Dan. Like you pick stuff up well. Like I don't want come across like, oh, this is gonna like I got a wand and I'm waving it and it's helping everybody. But the fact that you were interested, you were committed to doing it, and that's really where the difference was. Because you're really trying to retrain a pattern that's causing you a problem and trying to get in front of it before it starts to become more of a problem. Or when you started feeling it, they're like, oh, let me stop and let me do those again and then resume my pitching or my batting or whatever. And that's exactly what you did. And that's why you felt good and you felt confident about what you were doing. So that's the key too, is kind of like nipping it in the butt before it gets out of hand.
I mentioned I had a heart attack and I didn't go to the hospital for almost 3 weeks. And so now my new philosophy is get ahead of these things, no more of that nonsense. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a little bit of a layout of what you can expect on this podcast. And so again, as we're going through here and we talk to some of these different folks, if you've got issues or problems that you want to get them addressed, you could certainly comment. And we're, definitely happy to do that. Now, each and every week, there's going to be a special segment here on this show. And this particular week, we're actually going to take this time and we're going to talk about a good friend of ours, yours more than mine,
Mark
but
Douglas.
we're all in the same group.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Mark?
Yep.
Avon Unico's 42nd annual golf tournament is coming up on September 15th. It is a scramble. They got lunch and dinner. It's going to be a great time. $195. That's your green fees, cart fee, lunch, dinner, music, range balls, and all sorts of great prizes. And if you're not a golfer, you want to come out and support, though, $65. Come have some delicious dinner. This is all to battle against type 1 diabetes. This is a really, it's happening at the Country Club of Farmington, 806 Farmington Avenue. Very beautiful golf course. This is something that's important to you. It's important to me as well. I love getting involved with charities, especially ones that have golf tournaments.
Yeah, me too.
It's my favorite
because we did the one for the Cove.
Yeah,
in Cheshire. Yep.
Yep.
Which was great, definitely. And another person in our group, Allison.
That's right, Allison Gamber.
This is Mark Douglas. He's also a financial advisor. He's actually doing life insurance. In the group. He's a life insurance guy. Great guy. I mean, he really is a genuine person. You know, when you talk to somebody, you can tell. Like, that's how I felt about you when I first met you. So, that's why thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Yeah. I am a huge fan of golf tournaments. And I'll tell you, we made the Cove, I believe, right in the neighborhood of $100,000 this year. And to be able to have such a positive impact on a charity, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's great.
How could you not, And like I said, when you're talking about a golf tournament, I mean, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
When you're getting lunch and dinner as well, I mean, what else can you ask for? You make a whole day of it. It's a Monday, September the 15th. What a great day for a golf tournament.
Yep. It's probably going to be cool too, I would imagine. But then again, you never know. See, I don't mind the heat, but
yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I say this often, and even if it were to rain, you're on a golf course. Who cares?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Their golf courses are beautiful.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was playing golf a couple of years ago, and I was on the 4th hole, Hawks Landing in Southington. For anybody that knows, they got the big lake over there by the 4th hole, and they had drained the lake, and I hit my ball into the mud, and I went to go get it.
No.
And as I was walking over there, I saw a bunch of other balls, brand new ones. Looks like they'd never been used. Start picking them up, and then suddenly I started sinking.
No.
Oh yeah, down to my knees.
No way.
At one point, my shoe came off. I almost lost my shoe.
Oh, no way.
Did I mention we were on the 4th hole?
No.
Oh yeah.
That must.
Yeah, by the really 18th hole, my buddy was like, "You have no idea how gross you smell, too." By the way,
I can imagine. Oh man, I don't even want to tell you.
But you know what? Even that day was a great day because I was on a golf course.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's my point. Anyway, again, September 15th, I hope you'll come out and support our buddy Mark Douglas and Avon Unico's 42nd annual. 42nd annual. Yeah, that's an excellent organization, it sounds like,
It is. Yeah, Italian or,
yeah,
Italian American, which is great.
Love it. All right. Well, the information is up there. You could reach out if you'd like to learn more. As I mentioned, $65 if you want to just come for the dinner. It's $195 if you would like to play in this tournament. Again, it's all to support the battle against type 1 diabetes. So, yes, get yourself signed up.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that.
No, my pleasure. And Mark, I hope I get a chance to see you. I'm trying to come out to your golf tournament. I think it'd be a great time.
Is he on right now?
I don't know, but you know what? I'm sure he's going to hear this, if not now, in the near future. So, yeah, either way. All right. So here's how we're typically going to end this podcast week in and week out. It's going to be one of the people who thus far, you and I have worked with and worked on together, and we have quite a list of people who have had minor ailments or whatever problems, and they got them through various different ways. And again, I think week in and week out, you're going to meet some people and you're going to be like, oh my God, I have that. And it's funny because when I had the situation with my shoulder, you were talking about some sort of condition, and I forget what the word was.
TOS, thoracic outlet.
Yeah. And
That's
somebody I am friends with messaged me and said, oh my God, I've been dealing with that for a while, doing this very expensive therapy, and it's not really helping. And I thought, oh my God, she's a softball player. And she's dealing with a lot of the same things I'm dealing with. And again, it's like, oh my God, there's a lot of people out there doing this stuff. And the thing I liked about, and what you and I've talked about, is like, this isn't like, get signed up and do like, the next 5 years of like, physical therapy. This is like figuring out, what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
and in some situations, right, there's things that you can be doing through movement, through breathing or whatever, or some combo where you can sort of alleviate your situation.
Exactly. And you know what too, Joe, like I'm really big on collaborating with other healthcare professionals. So it's not like, oh, everybody just would have to come to me. Like, I mean, if somebody's seeing a chiropractor and they're maybe not doing corrective strategy, that would be perfect. That would be a perfect relationship, because the person, their adjustments would last longer, and they would basically, be giving themselves something that maybe they were missing. Because if your body's tight, it's trying to like protect you. It's trying to stop extra motion from happening, or something is going on. So if somebody takes that away and they don't replace it with something else, then you could see maybe where the person could injure themselves, in any given moment. Or people, as soon as they're done with the massage or they get right off the table, they feel it again, or maybe a day later, or whatever the case is. And sometimes it comes back even worse, because your body is going to be like, hey, what the heck are you doing here? It's going to like keep putting like holds on stuff. So I think like learning how, like what would be good for that person, what they could follow, use for another corrective strategy, I think would be very helpful. And, so it doesn't always have to be one person. We could just kind of collaborate together. So I'm very interested in working with other professionals, other chiropractor, or since we are talking about breathing here, anybody that maybe is talking to like any kind of like mental health professional, or they're trying to like process information or emotion or something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but maybe they're talking to somebody. So a lot of times pain is not just a movement thing. It could have other things associated. So I think it's great to have other people together, working together to try to help people, just either feel better about themselves or get out of something.
So
It's not working.
There was a week where Karin was there, and I got off to a pretty good start at the plate in wiffle ball. And towards the end of the first game, we played 2 games every weekend. At the end of the first game, I laid out and made an unbelievable diving catch, if I do say so myself. I believe we do have video footage of that.
Oh, we should have put. Too bad you didn't put that on.
No, we'll get it. I came up, and my last at bat, not a great at bat, and Karin was running, her triage on a bunch of people. And so I didn't really think much of it. And the second game came, and I was really struggling at the plate. And you and I started talking, and the sort of the pain of my shoulder had come back. I had literally, as I caught the ball, I kind of did like a somersault onto my shoulder. And again, we just sort of stretched that thing out. We ran through the same process right back to it. And I'm telling you, you have asked me a bunch of times, like, really, is this making you hit better, stronger? Do you feel better? And I'm telling you 100% unequivocally yes. To the point where I was like, you got to come meet all of my friends, because I think what you're doing is pretty awesome. And I've personally found it to be really helpful. I love what I do. I really enjoy, playing ball whenever I can. And I like to work out too. And I just don't want to feel like garbage anymore. And so, to have had the chance now to work with you a little bit and to learn some stuff too, it has made such a difference in my life. And I just want to thank you for that, Karin.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me an opportunity, introduce me to your friends, and just hearing me out, because I know sometimes this stuff is like, people sometimes look at you like, but you, just from the beginning, you always did. And I'm like, hey, you want to try something? And you always did. And you're great at it. You're like a natural, because you really picked up that stuff right away.
I won't lie. The first 5 minutes, I was like very confused. And then it all started to make sense when I started figuring out, as she made connections to, again, breathing and movement, and left side and right side and up and down. And it's like, oh my God.
Normal. Yeah, because you turn in the opposite way. I do that all the time. 'Cause I have to, it's terrible, right? You have to think, you're like, oh, where's my left hand? But that's it. Yeah, that's not just you. That's everybody. I do it too. So
this is going to be a fun little journey. Like I said, week in and week out, you're going to learn some different moves. You're going to learn some breathing. You're going to figure out things that, again, sort of coordinate and all sort of jive together. So it's going to be really cool. And again, if there's something that you're dealing with and you want to throw it out there, we're happy to throw comments up and have Karin address it. And could possibly diagnose you right during the podcast, sort of, walk. The diagnose isn't the word I want to use, but she can help you sort of figure out what's going on and, what you might be able to do to get yourself feeling a little bit better. So it's going to be very cool. So I appreciate you coming by, and we'll do this a Tuesday night, 6:00, and we're doing it live. No safety net. She didn't want to do it live. And I was like, Karin, you're such an amazing talker. And you and I just jive.
We do. We do this anyways when we're talking. So you're like, let's just do it live.
Just do it live.
And if it's that bad, I'll, clean it up for you. But
yeah. If it sucks, we'll fix it. That's kind of that's our new motto. Yeah. If it sucks, we'll fix it.
We'll just roll with it anyways, right? At least for being real.
Yeah. So like I said, make sure you check us out every single week. There's also going to be an audio version of this. We're filming the video version, which you could check out on any of the Clovercrest platforms all across social media. We will check you out next time. For Karin Ravalese, I am Joe McGuire. Thank you so much for watching the first Movement Boss podcast.